Nintendo has been in the video game business for many years, but they really started to hit it big with the release of the arcade game Donkey Kong. A month from today marked the 39th anniversary of the game and the series as a whole. So, as tribute to the classic game, join me as we go through the history and development of the original Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong started its life after a failed test of the Nintendo game Radar Scope, and Nintendo was getting close to bankruptcy. Due to Radar Scope's failure, Nintendo assigned a young worker at Nintendo named Shigeru Miyamoto to convert the unsold cabinets into a new game that would appeal to American audiences. And famed Nintendo engineer Gunpei Yokoi would supervise the project. When the project was in its early stages, their first idea was to make a licensed Popeye game, where Popeye would have to save his love interest, Olive Oil, from his rival Bluto. Unfortunately, the licensing deal failed and forced Nintendo to think of new ideas. Miyamoto took this as an opportunity to make his own characters that Nintendo could reuse down the line. In keeping with the earlier theme, he decided to parallel the love triangle mechanic from the Popeye series. He replaced Popeye with a red overalled character originally named Middle-Aged Man. Then he was renamed to Mr. Video, and finally renamed again to Jumpman. They chose this name to capitalize on the success of the similarly named Pac-Man. For the American release, however, Jumpman was renamed for the fourth and final time to Mario, as a reference to Mario Segal, who was the landlord of the original Nintendo of America office. This is a little off topic, but the reason Mario has a mustache is because in the creation of this game, the graphical limitations wouldn't allow them to give Mario a mouth, so they settled on mustache instead. Next, Bluto was replaced by Mario's pet, a giant ape named Donkey Kong. He was made an ape to be a bit silly looking, but still menacing enough to be a threat. There are several conflicting stories of how Donkey Kong got his name, however, but when Miyamoto came up with it, he wanted to convey the idea that Donkey Kong was a stupid ape. The final character was the damsel in distress character, simply named Lady. In the American release, the character was renamed to Pauline in reference to the wife of an employee, Don James. In future games, Pauline was given brown hair rather than this game's blonde hair. So now that they had the characters and the story finished, it was time for them to actually make the game. Miyamoto at the time lacked the skills to make the game on his own, so he consulted with a four-man team on his ideas he had with the game. Some of his ideas became the main focus, such as climbing up tilted beams to reach the top floor via ladders, and the barrel rolling mechanic. Miyamoto also wanted multiple levels, much to the annoyance of the programming team, who stated that they basically had to recreate the game for each level, but in the end this idea was kept. Other than levels, there was also a point system and a power-up. Points were given by clearing levels, jumping over barrels, and grabbing collectibles such as a parcel and a purse, which were implied to be owned by Pauline. Finally, there's a hammer power-up, which allows Mario to destroy anything in his path, but prevents him from climbing ladders while it's active. If the player can get 7,000 points, then they earn an extra life. In the game, there are 4 stages that loop, but get harder. Unfortunately, due to a coding error, after getting to the 22nd level in the game, Mario will kill himself, effectively ending the game. When producing it, they changed the arcade board they were using to cut costs. This may sound like a bad thing, but the things that they cut from the board were unnecessary to the game. This is because they were using a board based off of Namco's Galaxian game, which allowed a wide variety of sprites on screen at once. Donkey Kong didn't have very many sprites, so they deemed it unnecessary. The Donkey Kong hardware had the memory capacity for displaying 128 foreground sprites at 16 by 16 pixels each, and 256 background tiles at 8 by 8 pixels each. Mario and all moving objects use a single sprite, the taller Pauline uses 2, and the larger Donkey Kong used 6 sprites total. In total, the developers made around 20 kilobytes of content, which was pretty large for the time. Now that the game was ready, it was shipped to Nintendo of America for review. Ron Judy and Al Stone were the distributors of the game. Both men thought the game would flop, and Nintendo of America's president believed it would be a hit. So the men set up a deal to test 2 machines in a bar. The bar's manager was hesitant at first, but within 2 days the game earned around $60, prompting the bar's manager to ask for more cabinets. With this successful test launch, Nintendo knew they had something special and had the official release launch on July 9th, 1981. The game came out to commercial success, making around $180 million for Nintendo and quite literally saved them from bankruptcy. The success spawned several spin-offs and sequels, such as the Mario franchise, and is one of the main reasons we have several of the modern Nintendo franchises today. And that is Donkey Kong for the arcade, and it's a real good time. If you have never played this game, then I recommend you do so, even just to see where Mario got his start from. And that is about all I have for today, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.